everyone, and welcome to this Aviation Ireland video. So today I'm going to be showing you how to properly fly a VFR circuit, or you may know it as a touch and go, in X-Plane 11 or in really any simulator. So to start off, what is a VFR circuit? So a VFR circuit is basically one big holding pattern, kind of. It's in the same way as a holding pattern, but just it's used for VFR flying. So you line up on the runway, you take off, and the first leg that you're on is the upwind, or the departure leg, as you can see here on this little chart. So it depends if you're being given a left hand or a right hand circuit. So in this example, it's the left hand circuit, departing from runway 09. So you take off on the upwind, and then you turn to the left, which is the beginning of your left hand circuit, and that's the crosswind leg. Then one of the main legs, one of the legs that you announce on ATC for, is after you turn left again, the downwind leg, and that's when you're parallel to the runway. So you turn onto the downwind leg and you'd stay on the downwind leg for a while. Once you finish that, then it'll be another left turn onto the base leg, and the base leg is just before your final leg, and the base leg is just flying towards the runway until you reach the final leg. And once you're on final, you can then turn left again, and then you're on final to the runway. So you may hear on when you're flying IFR, you're coming in, and then they'd say like Shamrock 562 left base 09. That'll be on the Unicorn, and that would be in an airport that you have to come in on a base and then a final instead of a long final. You have to go in on a base and then a short final. Now, we don't call it a short final in VFR circuits, we just call it a final. Now, if you want to say short final, then ATC would understand, but really you're supposed to say just final. So the way that we're not going to be flying a VATSIM today, but I'm going to be doing call outs like it would be on VATSIM or eval. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's basically one big virtual air traffic network, and it's one of the most realistic out there. So you take off, and then you'd say clear for departure, left hand circuits, not above altitude 1,500 feet or whatever altitude it may be, and then they give you the QNH and the winds. So then you take off, and you go on your upwind and your crosswind, but you don't announce anything there. Usually it's standard to announce what you're going to be doing. It's standard to announce your position on the downwind leg, and then what you're going to be doing. So you'd take off and you'd say like Echo India November Golf Sierra downwind 09, or in our case when I start the video it would be 28 left. So we're just going to use 09 for this example because that's what it's like on this little chart. So you'd say downwind 09 touch and go, or downwind 09 full stop. And what a full stop is if you're literally just going to do one circuit and then land and then not do another circuit. Full stop is also when you're maybe on your 5th circuit, and then that's going to be your last circuit, so then you'd say downwind full stop. So then once you're on your downwind, once the controller acknowledges that, they'd either clear you for a base and report final, or they just say report final. Both of those are clearing you for a base. Some controllers like to say clear base, report final. Some controllers just say report final. So then you'd fly onto your base leg, and then you can either do it when you're turning on final, but it's more likely to do it when you're actually on your final. You can say final 09. Now let's say if you're taking off and you're on the downwind leg, but it's quite busy, maybe there's a lot of VFR traffic, or maybe even a lot of IFR traffic, and the controller is busy, and you end up maybe here, or maybe where this aircraft is, before you actually get to say that you're on your downwind leg. Well, in that case, then once you're on your downwind and you're announcing it, you'd say Echo India November Golf Sierra long downwind, or it'd either be long downwind or late downwind 09. Now what some controllers might ask you to do is to extend your downwind, and so maybe if you're flying in class alpha airspace where there's a lot of IFR traffic, or if you're flying, it doesn't even have to be class alpha, just if you're flying in an airport that has a lot of VFR traffic doing circuits, you can be asked to extend your downwind leg. So what that means, literally just extending your downwind and then going on your base, and then usually you'd still be on a short final, but because of course VFR planes can't go very fast, but you can end up going on a long final. and then you just say final 0-9. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to know about this little chart here. So let's go ahead and jump into the simulator. Okay, so welcome to the cockpit of the Cessna 172. We are currently lined up on Dublin's runway to our left. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a left-hand circuit, not above 1,500 feet. And that doesn't mean you have to cruise at 1,500. It just means not above altitude, 1,500 feet. So we're going to go until we reach the end of the runway, and then a bit further than the end of the runway. Then we're going to go on our crosswind, our downwind, our base, and our final. So we don't need flaps for this. We need one flap for this. We don't need 4 flaps or anything like that, unless you're using a big, a small runway. But yeah, so we can just go ahead and start the pilot. I don't have rudder pedals, unfortunately, so I do have to use my yoke for rudder, which is somewhat annoying. But so we're just going to take off and play on. If you're watching this, I'm sure you know how to take off, and that's the 55 knots. That's about pressure. So now we're at the pilot. Of course, when you're flying Aviation, you don't usually have this little map thing, because in simulators it's quite more difficult to fly visually. We're just going to use it before. So you'll be able to see the end of the runway, and then just a little bit after we get to the end of the runway, we're going to go on to crosswind. Steadily level off a bit here. Of course, we can't go above 1,500 feet. So we'll level off and reduce the power. So now the runway is behind us, so we can begin to get ready for that initial turn after the upwind to the departure. That turn will be coming quite soon. Okay, so we can begin to gently start a left-hand turn. Nothing too crazy, so we do still get a bit of power going through. Here we do need to level off, because soon we will reach 1,500 feet, which is not much we do. So we're going to begin to bring the wing level again. Right hand side. So now we're on a crosswind leg. So if we look to the side, you can see that's the runway there. So this is pretty much our cruising altitude now for this circuit. I'm not flying at all bottom, so it can be a little bit more difficult. Make sure to keep an eye on where the runway is at all times. We can now begin to make our downwind turn. And it'll be at this point that you can announce that you're on your downwind, either to the Unicom or to the ATC. So it'll sound a little something like this. Going to the Bengal Sierra, downwind to the left, touch and go. That's what it said. Then you get a readback, something like echoing the November Golf Sierra, Roger, clear left base to a left report final, or you can just be told that you're clear, just to report finals. It's all up to the controller. So you can still see the runway to our left hand side, so now we're parallel to the runway. That's what the downwind leg is. Side in the island. Now it's getting a bit closer to the runway that we want. So soon we can begin to reduce our speed and start a steady descent. Because when you're flying VF4, you tend to descend quite fast. So we will need flaps for this landing. that is not necessarily because we don't have a long runway. It's more to do with the fact that we will need to slow down, because when you're flying a circuit, you want to spend as much time in the air and as little time on the runway, because I mean that's what a circuit's for. It's for having fun in the air. So you would need to make sure that you're spending as little time on the ground as possible, and the way to do that is to be as slow as possible coming in to land. So we can begin to go on our base now shortly. Just keep an eye on where the runway is. So we're going to begin our base just over this motorway right here. And usually that will be a landmark or a VRP, which means visual reference point. So we can begin to steadily reduce our speed and begin a base turn. And then once we get onto our final, we can report final to the air traffic controller. So as you can see, we are losing a little bit of speed here. So now the runway is to our left hand side, toward the 10 o'clock position. And put out one set of flaps and start to reduce the speed. Pull the top back and begin a final descent. So as you can see, there's the runway there. So we shouldn't need a flaps full landing, but we will need some flaps. So now we can go on to a final, so we can report to the ATC. And going into November Golf Sierra, final, to our left to Chicago. And then you'd often get a response like going into November Golf Sierra, roger, clear touch and go, the wind's 210 degrees, 06 knots. To the left, clear touch and go. I realised I said clear touch and go twice there. Allow it. So we won't need a flaps full landing, but we will need a flaps full landing just because the aircraft is going to reduce speed. But that is only to reduce speed. As you can see, we're a little bit high, so we are going to need to send it. See, the good thing about VF4 flying is that you're never going to overrun the runway, because how quickly the aircraft stops, and you're not even going to have to stop the aircraft. So you want to keep it in the centre line, or as close to the centre line as possible. We've got a bit of wind. So we're right on the centre line. A good bit of wind. Try to get as close to the zone as possible. Doesn't necessarily need to be the smoothest landing in the world. We cut the throttle, flare, and then a smooth landing. So it's going to wait until the airspeed dies, and then we can speed back up, pull up our flaps, and we can take off again. Now we're going to fly another circuit, but this is going to be the last circuit of the day, and I'm going to show you a full stop landing. It's not much different, but so when you're doing a full stop landing, you then have to vacate the runway afterwards. It's just like landing an IFR aircraft. So once you have landed, you will need to vacate. So in Dublin we have the Sierras, and then the one Echo, but that's for 10, right? So we're not going to have to worry about the Echo, so we're only going to have to worry about the Sierras. So if it's busy, so usually if you're flying on Vaxxing, or even flying in real life in Dublin, VF4, which you probably shouldn't do in real life, but on Vaxxing you can, but they will often, it's very rare to get a clean circuit. You know, like you often have to extend it down, but if you do and you're going on full stop, it's often that you'll be told where to vacate. So you might be told at the window of Golf Sierra, once landed, vacate Sierra 2, or they'd say if possible vacate Sierra 2. So that's what can often happen, but sometimes it's just you vacate. But then if you have vacated, you're going to wait until if the aircraft controller can see that you vacated, and will give you further taxi instructions. If they haven't, you can announce that you have vacated. So I'm just going to add a little bit of right hand pressure, and now the left hand pressure. You might not understand, but it's just to get us in line with the runway. So we're going to add a little bit of left hand pressure to then leave that upwind. Just make sure, because when you're turning, it often your nose can rise and your airspeed can lower. So jump in, level the wings, and now there's the runway to around 7 o'clock position. And across one leg, just wait until we can be parallel with the runway with enough space to fast. So remember they said not above altitude 1,500 feet, so not above altitude 1,500 feet here. And it is difficult in this aircraft to put in the QNH on here, so often I like to look at the gauges and see what altitude we're at. So now we're going on to our downwind leg. Now we are a little bit further out from the airport than we would have liked, but it's okay. So once we've leveled the wings now, we can announce to the ATC that we have gone on to our downwind leg. Sierra, downwind, clear left, full stop. And then Golf Sierra, roger, clear left base, port finals. So there we go. There's the runway to our left hand side. Soon now we can begin reducing the speed and descending. Not too heavy a descent, just to get down to a final approach altitude. There is a chance. Now remember, like when you're doing VFR flying, you can still have to go around. The good thing is it means you get another circle if you go around. So just keep that in mind. Like VFR flying, it is very fun. I feel like you're on a holiday and all that, but do you have to keep in mind that normal aircraft and airspace rules do apply, and when you're flying VFR in class Alpha airspace or even class Bravo airspace, the chances are that air traffic control will prioritise IFR traffic, so just do keep that in mind. Don't kind of expect that VFR traffic get praise from all air traffic controllers. Some air traffic controllers don't, like you can ask if in a busy event, some air traffic controllers don't want VFR traffic, and that's fair enough as well. So now we're going to go on to our base leg, which we have been cleared for. We are reducing a good bit of speed. We're going to drop one of our flaps. So now we're on our base leg, and then when we get over the airport, we will go on to our final. We can announce our final as well. So we're on a final approach and a final approach descent. I do like to keep it by the glide path, even though that's mainly ILS. But it is cool to keep it by the glide path, just so even you're making the safest and most most efficient approach as you can. So we've got the next set of flaps. The flaps will keep the juice coming in, and now we just need to level up in front of the runway. But even if you are like this, you are still on your final, so you can announce final. Golf Sierra, final, to it left, full stop. Golf Sierra, roger, vacate by Sierra of choice. So we can vacate via whichever exit we want after landing. And I should have probably mentioned the clear to land. I forgot to, because I was trying to get the aircraft back in line with the runway. But they would say the winds 060 degrees, 5 knots, runway to it left, clear to land. They wouldn't say clear. They wouldn't say clear to land, full stop, because that's your job to tell them that it's full stop. Their job is to tell you that you're clear to land, and clear to touch and go. So I've got a good bit of a crosswind again here. Of course, when you're flying a light aircraft, it is slightly more difficult to maintain those. Good direction in the classroom. We've dropped all of our flaps, and we can just gently kiss the runway. We heel the power, and we're back on the ground. So we can just increase our throttle a bit, just so we have a bit of power to get us to the end of the runway, or to the next exit, and then we will vacate, and we can announce which Sierra we have vacated by. Now after this, they would tell you, give you taxi instructions. This video was just just instructions on how to do a VFR circuit. So there won't be any taxi instructions in this. So we're off Sierra 2, so we're going to exit the whole short line just up ahead, and then we can announce that we are, well, if you're on Unicom you'd say you're clear of 2 at left 5 Sierra 2, or you can just say vacate Sierra 2. So you'd then say, like when you're going Sierra, vacated 2 at left 5 Sierra 2, and then you'd be given taxi instructions to most likely the General Aviation apron. If this video was helpful at all, please consider subscribing. So I will see you all probably in a year when we make the next one.